Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Tonight, we'll be looking at a very fascinating topic, managing the traditional CEO, introducing human resources as a value-adding business function. And we have the privilege, honor of having Ifeoluwa Ashaolu. She will be our facilitator for this session. Ifeoluwa Ashaolu is our facilitator for tonight, and she'll be sharing with us insights and thoughts on the subject matter. Ifeoluwa Ashaolu is a senior human resource management certified professional. She is dedicated to striking a balance between business goals, organizational culture, and employee welfare. She's experienced in talent management, organizational development, project management, performance management, among other HR domain areas. She's a strategic and innovative HR professional who is able to translate business vision into HR initiatives that improve organizational performance, profitability, employee growth, development, and of course, engagement. She's a graduate of English education with a master's degree in educational administration from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Obawan University. She holds a professional diploma in human resource management from the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. She is an experienced people development professional with nearly 1 decade of experience in a variety of sectors, including consulting, education, construction and real estate, and the development sector. She has worked on the design and delivery of a variety of leadership development and strategic consulting solutions for various organizations. Ifeoluwa currently serves as the head of human capital management at Fimpact Consulting, a leading consulting firm in Abuja and in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited to hand over control of the virtual lecture tonight to Ifeoluwa Ashaolu. Over to you, ma'am.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Oluyemi Adeosun. It's a rare privilege to be here. Thank you for putting this together, and I hope we will gain value today. All right, like Mr. Adeosun had rightly introduced, we're going to be speaking about managing the traditional CEO, introducing HR as a value-adding business function. As much as possible, we'll try to make this session very interactive, and I would like to see your feedback from the chat box as much as possible. So we're going to be looking, first of all, this is a brief overview of what we're going to be discussing today. First of all, we'll look at just a brief introduction on who the CEO is, the types of CEOs we have, and then we're going to look at a very short case study of a traditional CEO. We're also going to see typical reasons that the traditional CEO hires an HR professional. We'll look at common perceptions about HR's role. And since we're looking at HR as a value-adding business function, we'll be looking at the concept of value. And then we will go further to look at HR as a value-adding business function. And we'll also see some central questions that are critical to HR business performance and how to bridge the business divide. We would also look at the elements of a winning business case and some steps that we can take towards enhancing our value as HR professionals. And we'll be out of here really quickly. All right, so just to lay the foundation of our conversation today, who is the CEO? Typically, the CEO is an abbreviation or an acronym for the Chief Executive Officer, and he's usually the highest ranking member of an organization. CEO is, like some people call him, the Chief Responsible Officer. He's responsible for managing and directing the company towards the achievement of her primary goals and objectives. The CEOs are usually responsible for making the big decisions They make the major decisions like acquisitions, mergers, if you want to expand operations from Nigeria to Togo to Cameroon, if you want to collaborate with another organization. So the CEOs make those big major decisions, and they also serve as the public face of the organization and act as the liaison between the organization and the board of directors. Now, it's very important to note that the CEOs, the performance of an organization, the profitability, the success of an organization relies on the decisions of the CEO. As you can see, he's the chief responsible officer. So wherever he steers the ship towards, that's where the organization goes. So it depends. The success of the organization relies heavily on the decisions of the CEO. So we're going to be looking at a few types of CEOs. Just a caveat to put it out there, there are different schools of thought around types of CEOs, but I choose to, according to Northwest Executive Education, we're going to be looking at 7 different types of CEOs. We have the visionary CEO. The visionary CEO is the man. He's the CEO, type of CEO that is focused on the future. This person, he is always looking for ways to innovate. He has a vision. There is something he has in mind, and he's always looking for ways to come up with new ideas and disrupt the industry. He's visionary. He has a clear understanding of the long-term goals of the organization, and he's constantly working towards achieving those long-term goals. He's not afraid to take risks because he knows that he's seeing where he's going to. So he's not afraid to take risks. He's not afraid of investing in new technologies. He's not afraid of investing in new ideas that can give him a competitive advantage. You just have to sell the idea to him. The visionary CEO will be willing to take the risk and invest in these new ideas. Then we have the servant CEO. The servant CEO, typically, he puts the needs of his employees above his own needs. He put the needs of his customers above his own needs. He believes that, or they believe that by serving others, they can create a more successful and a more sustainable organization. The servant CEO is committed to building strong relationships with their employees. It's committed to building strong relationships with customers, and they are always looking for ways to serve. They are looking for ways to improve the experiences of their employees. They are looking for ways to improve the experiences of their customers. We also have the autocratic CEO. This guy, he exercises complete control. He doesn't want to hear anything. He makes all the decisions without seeking any input from others. He exercises complete control over his company and takes no input from anyone else. Typically, the autocratic CEO is a demanding and authoritarian leader. And for some people, they find it difficult to work with these kinds of leaders. The good side of the autocratic CEO, however, is that they are able to make very quick decisions. They are able to drive results because they are not waiting for any contribution from anybody. They are the sole owner of their decisions in their organization. So they are able to make very quick decisions. And because they can make quick decisions, they are able to drive results very quickly. Now we have the transformational CEO. This type of CEO is focused on transforming his company. He's focused on transforming the industry. They are not satisfied with status quo. They are always looking for ways to improve, always looking for ways to innovate. They want to disrupt the status quo. Because they are trying to disrupt the status quo, because they are always looking for ways to improve, they tend to be excellent communicators. They are able to inspire their employees. They are able to motivate their employees because you're bringing an organization. We do not have an organization where we don't have people. So he has to be able to communicate his ideas. He has to be able to communicate what the transformation agenda that he has to the people that he's leading. So they become excellent communicators. They're able to inspire people to follow what they want them to do to help them to achieve their goals. We also have the collaborative CEO. This collaborative CEO believes in the power of teamwork and collaboration. He believes that we cannot do, no man is an island. That's the idea behind the collaborative CEO. He believes we have to always work together. He's committed to creating a culture of collaboration within the company. And they are looking for ways, constantly looking for ways to improve communication, to build stronger relationships between their teams. They are excellent listeners, of course, and they are open to feedback from their employees. We have the innovator CEO. This person, this type of CEO is always looking for ways to innovate and improve their company. They are not afraid to take risk as well, and they are looking for creative solutions. There can be the general way that people solve problems, but the innovator CEO is always looking for that extra something that differentiates him, differentiates his organization. The innovator CEO is committed to stay ahead of the curve and is always looking for ways to disrupt their industry. They are the ones that always have that very, very unique selling point. They always have that unique advantage to whatever service or product that they offer. We have the charismatic CEO. The charismatic CEO is a person that has a magnetic personality. People are just drawn towards the charismatic CEO. And because of the charisma he has, because of his personality, they are able to inspire people. They are able to motivate their employees because of their charisma. They are excellent communicators, of course, and they are able to articulate their vision for their company in a way that resonates with their employees. They are usually seen, people that are charismatic CEOs, they are seen as natural leaders, and they are able to build strong relationships with their employees and customers. Some CEOs, it's important I mention that a CEO might be a combination of of more than one of these types. So we can have a visionary CEO that is also very transformational and collaborative. So you can have a mix of these different types of CEO in one. Now, we're going to be focusing, I know in all of this we did not mention the traditional CEO because that's something I want us to discuss. So we are going to be looking next at who the traditional CEO is. Now, there might not be a singular definition for who the traditional CEO is, but I want us to look at this case study. And you can read together with me on the screen and drop your comments in the chat box, pick it from there. Loretta is the subject of our case study. Loretta joined ABC Limited 3 months ago. And before she joined, there had not been an HR function for about 7 years. In effect, she had to set up the HR department from scratch. There's obviously a lot that needs doing. For example, ABC Limited needed to have policies, they needed to have employment contracts, there needed to be a handbook in place before embarking on other things like talent development, employee engagement, and the rest of that. Now, at the end of the 3 months, Loretta realized that 90% of her time, she had spent it on putting out different fires. She had a check-in meeting with her boss. Her boss is Mr. Clown. Mr. Clown felt that her activities had not impacted on the bottom line in any way, and he was considering the importance of her role in the company, given the economic state of the company at the time. Now, Loretta is very confused, and she needs your advice on the next steps to take to convince Mr. Clown that her approach of putting the basics in place first is what the business needs at this time. Now, we'll need your comments on what Loretta, the next step Loretta needs to take. So if you have your comments, you can just drop them in the chat box, and then I will come back to it. While we think about this case study, let me just point out a couple of things that are important in this case study. For an organization that had been functioning for 7 years without an HR function, I mean, of course, there are a lot of things that need to be done. So it's in an organization, even if there is no HR function, there is no HR department, definitely there have been people in the organization for the last 7 years. And then those people, someone has been performing the function of the human resource department without necessarily being called the human resource department. So there are things that need to be checked. There are things that need to be done. This is just giving us some sort of insight into, the things that could have been going on with Loretta at ABC Limited. But then Mr. Clown, who is her boss, still feels like, as she came into the company, she had been putting out fires like maybe employee, one person fighting with, with the other, just going about leave administration, payroll administration, and different administrative activities without necessarily focusing on the strategic things that would have proven her importance. Okay, I don't know who this person is, but we have a comment here that says, with a good structure, which Loretta is trying to put in place, she's in a good place. And if she's not appreciated in that place, she's not at the right place, so she should move. Okay, all right, that's a good contribution. Thank you. Your name doesn't show, but yeah, thank you for your contribution. All right, if we have other contributions too, you can just include your comments in the chat box and I'm going to pick it up from there. But let's go on. We can come back to discuss this case study later. Okay. All right, so we're looking at typical reasons the traditional CEO hires an HR professional. Now, the first thing, the traditional CEO, typically, you will think that the HR function, because I mean, we're in Nigeria, a lot of CEOs feel like the HR department, the human resource function, is just a value sapping support function some people consider it a necessary evil. Others think it is just, it's totally unnecessary and I can handle it myself. Now, we're going to look at some reasons why the CEO, the traditional CEO, would eventually decide to hire an HR professional. Now, one reason that could make the traditional CEO hire an HR professional is that people issues are getting escalated to the top and the CEO doesn't have time to deal with them anymore. He has gotten busy, business is growing. So all of these people, they are just disturbing his life. So he doesn't want to deal with those issues anymore. So he brings in somebody to take up that burden from him. The CEO, another reason is that the CEO has typically looked after the people issues, but now that the workforce is growing, he's spending too much time micromanaging the details, and he doesn't have enough time leading the business forward. That is, he's spending a lot of time on operational issues rather than focusing on strategic issues that can help the business grow. So he decides to bring in an HR professional. Another reason is that the organization, he can now justify, the organization has grown. So he has gotten to a point where the organization can justify the expense of having a dedicated HR role. So yes, we have grown. It's time to bring in an HR professional. Sorry, how did I get there? Stay a moment. Yeah, okay, we're back. Now, another reason the CEO hires an HR professional is that he needs someone to deal with people challenges, such as high turnover. Everybody's leaving the organization. What is going on? So he brings in an HR professional. We need new people. We need skills. This hard to get talents. People are leaving. The jackpot is happening. What is going on? Bring in an HR professional. Let them perform magic and solve the problem. So that's when the HR professional is needed. Or you have employees that are just demotivated. They don't get to understand what is going on. Why are people not giving their best? Why are they not loyal? Then they begin to see the need for an HR professional. While people underperforming, they see the need for an HR professional. Or they just needed a mediator. I'm tired of talking to these low-level people. I'm tired of talking to all the staff.
Ben.
Okay. I'm tired of talking to all the staff.
Oh, I see. So funny.
Okay. All right. Sorry about the interruption. We needed a role to mediate the relationship between the employees and the organization. So they bring in an HR professional. Another reason why we could have the traditional CEO hiring an HR professional is that they need someone to be able to guide people when they come into the organization. The little people management issues, such as people knowing who their line manager is, who they report to, the line manager themselves knowing the people processes that they are supposed to be engaged in and things like that. So they need someone, the traditional CEO needs someone to handle these details, and then that is the point at which he decides to bring in an human resource professional. Okay, I'm going to go back to the comment section on our case study of Loretta and see the comments that we have. Moses Ogleba says that Loretta should show a report backed by data of some of her success and show the consequences and risks involved for lack of compliance and a functional HR department. If no positive decision is taken, she is in the wrong place. Very good contribution, Moses. Very good contribution. Human management is an inalienable skill. Even the maker of man found it tasking to manage man. He left man to his ways. That's funny. The HR role and function is a sine qua non. All right, thank you, Zoom. Okay, so now I'll go back to the case study for a bit and let us wrap up on that. Just in conclusion, we have had very valuable inputs from people on the chat box. Now, what can Loretta do? That is the crux of our conversation here today. We are trying to see how Loretta can convince Mr. Clown that the HR department is important, because you don't build a house, like they say, you don't build a house from the roof, you build from the foundation. For you to have a functional HR department, there are some basics. And the things that Loretta was trying to put in place, like having policies, having contracts, having a handbook, and all of those things in place, they would form the basics and would help to guide the HR function going forward. But we are going to look at it in more details as we go forward. Okay, I'm going to look at common perceptions also about HR's role, what some people think about HR. Some people see that HR, they just think HR is corporate police. Anybody that is doing wrong, that is the job of HR. HR should just be there to catch the people that are doing the wrong things. HR is corporate police. Other people think HR is just hire and fire. You know, that's why I put it in quotes. I don't know if there's a word like fire, but that's how some people perceive HR to be. Just there to recruit and to sack. That's all HR does. Some other people think that HR is the champion in organizations. They are the champions that take away all people management responsibilities from line managers. You meet with line managers that do not want to get involved in performance management of their staff. They don't want to get involved in anything that has to do with people. All they want to do is the quote and unquote the job without actually managing the people that do the job. So some people think HR is the one that is responsible for everything that has to do with people management. Some other people think that HR is only the policymaker that introduces more and more policies. They bring in structures, they bring in rigidity to the system, and the rigidity eats away flexibility. The policies that HR brings now makes the business less successful. The policies that HR is bringing, it undermines innovation. These are some of the ways that I know there are a lot of other ways that people perceive HR to be, but these are some of the common perceptions about the role of HR. Now we're going to be looking at the concept of value. The concept of value. Value, in very simple mathematical terms, value is perceived benefits over the cost. Now, I'll break that down a bit. What is the in terms, when you want to analyze the value of something, of a function, of a person, of something you own, you're going to be looking at how much that thing costs you. You're going to also be considering the benefits, the results that activity or that thing is giving to you. That is what is value. Remember, what we are looking at today is introducing HR as a value-adding business function. Value-adding business function. So, how is HR? What are the benefits that HR is bringing to the table? And what is the cost of HR? That is our value as HR professionals of the HR function. All right, so some basic questions that to just get us thinking about value. If you want to think about the value of a thing, you would ask yourself, what is the purpose of this activity? As an HR professional, you're doing something. When you think about the purpose of this activity, does it really tell value? Does it really tell value? What is the cost of doing the activity? What is the benefit that you realize from carrying out that activity? Does it aid in achievement of organizational goals? If it doesn't aid in the achievement of organizational goals, that means it's valueless or invaluable. That's always a bit confusing. But does it aid in achievement of organizational goals? You're also going to look at, is it only a tool of bureaucracy? Is it just because it is a good to have? Is that why we are doing this thing? Is it because company A does it? That is why we as company B has to also do this activity. What is the real value? Is it just an organizational norm for us to have an HR department? What value is the HR function bringing to this organization? What is the impact of non-performance? If we don't do this activity, if there is no HR in this organization, what happens to us as an organization? Is there a genuine alternative to that activity? Is there something else that can be done that is not HR that will still bring about the same value to a business, to the organization? Is there a genuine alternative to that activity? As we carry out our functions, our duties, or our roles as HR professionals, these are things that can guide our thinking. So if you know that the answers to some of these questions doesn't tell value, you can now know what to do about that. Now we're going to look at this. It's a tool that helps me from time to time. It's activity value analysis tool. If you're about to carry out an activity, one very important question you have to ask, is this activity totally necessary? If it is not necessary, there is only one thing to do about it: eliminate it. Stop doing it. It is very pointless to carry out an activity that is not necessary and that does not add any value to the organization. So eliminate any unnecessary activities. Okay, yes, the activity is necessary. How can the efficiency of that activity be improved? What can we do to make that process better? How can the effectiveness of that activity be improved? And then when you consider this, you can now establish metrics. That is measurement, ways you can measure the performance of that activity. So establish metrics and performance measures. Very simple tool. Always, before carrying out an activity, always ask yourself, if it's not necessary, eliminate. If it's necessary, consider if it can be improved, if the efficiency of the activity can be improved, if the effectiveness of the activity can be improved, and then establish metrics and performance measures to let you know that that activity actually achieved what you wanted to achieve. All right. Now this is the crux of what we are discussing today, looking at HR as a value-adding business function. Now, the first thing, which is like the most important thing, I'm going to spend some time here, is to understand the business of the business. As an HR professional, you cannot only focus on HR. Oh, my role is HR. The only thing I'm here to do is to hire people, to fire people, to do performance management, to do leave administration, to do payroll, and do HMO for people, and all of that. That is not your role as HR. You have to understand the business of the business, know about the industry your organization is working in, know the competitors of your organization, even if it doesn't have to, even if these things are not directly HR, but they are very, very important for you to be able to have a seat at the strategic table, to be able to contribute strategically to where the organization is heading to. When other people in the executive are speaking about issues affecting the business, as HR, you must understand what they are talking about. You must be able to speak the same language of the business, because this is the most important thing for you as HR. Understand the business of the business. Know the markets, know your industries, know your competitors, just know a bit about the regulatory framework of your organization, so that when you are proposing solutions, you can contribute reasonably, you can contribute strategically to conversations that would affect the future of the organization. Now, always look for a constructive solution to HR issues. You should not be the HR person that says it can't be done. As HR, you cannot rest on your oars. You are always looking for innovative ways to introduce people solutions. Look for different, there are tons of issues that we could give instances with, but there are different solutions that can bring business benefits, that can make employees feel more valued, that can help the organization, the achievement of goals, that can help the organization in the achievement of its goals and objectives. Always look for solutions that bring business benefits to the organization, that make employees feel more valued. Of course, you know that the employees are the most important asset of the organization. So your people solutions, your HR solutions, your HR initiatives should be geared towards making these people that would that your organization is rendering, you have to make them feel valued. You also have to, if it's a product your organization manufactures, you have to take care of the people, the employees that are involved in the manufacturing of those products. Okay. Then lastly, it's important that you accept that as HR, your solutions may not always show an immediate financial return on investment. Now, every HR solution that we propose, when you if you do a proper analysis, you would see the value, you would see the ROI of your solution. This might not be, it might not, like people in sales, if they need, for instance, someone in sales says they need a new car to be able to reach out to customers or to distribute goods to customers. In doing that, once they get their new car, they are able to do the deliveries they need to do. They are able to reach out to customers quickly, and you can quickly see that you can quickly identify the return on investment for that investment. But as HR, this situation is a bit different. We may not be able to show an immediate financial return on investment, but you can, when you're talking about the value that HR is adding to the organization, you can focus on how motivated and happier employees will bring about returns to the organization in a variety of ways. Happier employees, more employees that are more motivated and happier, that are more engaged, they are likely to treat your customers better. They are likely to produce more quality products that would make you have returning customers, that will bring new customers to you. So these are some of the things that you can show as returns on investment for HR solutions that you propose. Now, some central questions to HR business performance. First, do these HR practices make a difference in our business results? When you are proposing a solution, what difference does this make? What exactly does this solution that I am proposing, how does it help us as an organization to achieve our goals? How does it help? How does it help to just help the organization, do something better? There has to be a difference in the results of the organization because of the practices, the policies, the initiatives that you bring up as an HR professional. Another central question to HR business performance is, in what ways can I introduce HR practices to add value to business performance? This is different from the first question in that in the first question, you're answering how the practices are making a difference in business results. But in this second question, you're asking, how can you introduce the practices? There is a way that it's common. People say there is a way you tell somebody to go to hell, and then the person will smile and go to hell. There is a way you introduce a practice to the organization that it will yield very good business results. And there is a way you would introduce some HR initiatives, some HR practices that will be dead on arrival. So in what ways can you introduce this practice to your organization that will add value to the business performance? You would have some organizational context, you would have knowledge of your organization, and you would know what works for you. What works in company A will not necessarily work in company B. Now, another critical question you must answer is, what are the most appropriate HR measures that drive business performance? Whatever solution you're proposing, whatever solution you're proposing, whatever practice, policy, initiative, whatever it is, how do you measure? How do you measure? How do you measure? You have to measure it so that you will be able to, if you don't, you measure what matters, and it has to be tied to the business performance. Already as the HR, it's expected that you know where the organization is heading to. So those HR measures you're bringing, how do you measure those practices, those policies in line with where the organization is heading to? Very important. Now, effective business alignment of HR occurs when every activity output of HR contributes gainfully to the organizational pool of outputs earmarked for manufacturing a product or rendering a service. When a product is finally manufactured, when a service is finally rendered, how can the activities that you have done as HR, how can it be linked to that output that was achieved? How can it be linked to the product that was manufactured? How can it be linked to the service that was rendered? That's how your HR practices, your HR policies and initiatives are aligning with the organization's goals. All right, now we're going to be looking at how to bridge the business divide. How to bridge the business divide. It's, you remember I said earlier, one very key thing is that you have to understand the business of the business. You have to know what your organization is about. It doesn't matter. Some people are one of the good sides of HR is that you can work in virtually any kind of organization, because any kind of organization would need human resource management function. But at the same time, as you change industries, as you change organizations, you have to understand the industry your organization is working in. You have to understand that. Now, in bridging the business divide, the first thing is that you have to understand and set clear expectations for your role as HR. First of all, you need to understand what the management expects from you as CEO. You need to understand what other employees, other line managers expect from you as CEO. You need to understand, some of these things would not be stated in black and white. It might not be, there are some things that you can deduce from the organization, but you have to understand your role in your organization as HR and also set clear expectations. Let people know what to expect from you as HR. When you come in, we looked at some common perceptions of HR's role. Some people have those ideas even when you come into the organization as HR. So you have to help people to understand what your role is as HR. Then you have to evaluate current opportunities within your business. Bring insight to investment decisions. Now, you cannot bring insight to investment decisions when you do not understand the business of the business. You have to understand what your organization is about. You have to understand who your competitors are. You have to understand the opportunities for growth that the organization has and everything, so that you can bring valuable insights to decisions of the organization. You have to now build the future of the organization using the resources of the present. Where is your organization heading to? As HR, how can you contribute to that future of the organization? For instance, you have 20 staff right now, and your organization is looking to become world best. Divisions most organizations has always to become number one in something, to become world best in something. How can you build that future that your organization plans to achieve using the resources you have now? If the resources you have now are not able to achieve that future? What are you bringing to the table? How can you present your case to the management, to the business owners, to be able to build that future that they want to see? In doing that, you'll be able to bridge the people visibility gap. Some traditional CEOs think, I can just get anybody in at any time. I can get anybody out at any time. People, especially in Nigeria, hear some people say that people are looking for jobs, so anybody that doesn't want to do the job should go away, those kind of things. But when you are able to, you treat your people like assets. You treat your people like assets, and then you help the people, the management, to see the people. You are bridging the people visibility gap. You're seeing the people as skills. You are seeing the people as capital. They are resources for you. So you are able to bridge that people visibility gap. Then you have to balance the short-term imperatives and the long-term needs of the business. Yes, today you need to attend to somebody that what people do these days. So somebody that today is his birthday, you need to celebrate that person. You need to somebody else is applying for leave, you need to help that person. You need to calculate leave allowance. You need to ensure that there is somebody that is standing as a cover for that person. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that. But you need to also balance all of these operational activities with the long-term needs of the business. The organization wants to be world best something. The organization wants to be number one something. So how are you able to combine what is happening right now with where we are going as an organization? Very important. Then you have to keep taking temperature of the organization from an HR perspective. Yes, the finances are important. R&D, research and development, is important. Legal and compliance issues are important. HR is also just as important. You need to know where the organization is. You should feel the pulse of the organization from an HR perspective. So yes, financially, the organization is here. People-wise, HR-wise, where are we? What skills do we have in our employee? Where are we? How is the future looking? What's the outlook of our human resources now? You have to keep track of that. Then when you're doing these things, you'll be able to develop platforms for strategic conversations. When the management sees that you're not all about the administrative and operational activities alone, you are able to come up and discuss strategic issues. So that way you are able to transform your role from being an operational and administrative expert to becoming a strategic advisor to your organization. And as your organization grows, as your role expands, you should learn to outsource HR activities strategically. There are things that are worth your time as an HR professional, especially for organizations that have a very small HR team. There are things that are worth your time, and there are things that would give you more value if you outsource them. So you need to decide what that would be for you. All right. Now, in presenting, when there are solutions that you need to present, you have to present a business case to your management. And these are some of the things that you need to consider when you're coming up with a business case for your management. First thing is, there needs to be an executive summary. This is just maybe one paragraph summary of what your proposal is, the solution you're trying to present to the organization, and just a brief summary. That can be a very short paragraph. Now, another thing is your problem statement. In your problem statement, you have to give talk about the problem. What is the issue what the solution you're trying to, the solution you're proposing is going to solve? That's your problem statement. Talk about the problem. What is the exact problem? What is the thing that we are trying to solve? Then you give a background to that problem. How did we get here? What happened? How did this problem start? What did something happen? Did we miss something? whatever the case is, depending on the peculiar situation. Talk about the background to that problem. Then your project objectives. When you're, especially if it's something that is capital intensive, you have to have, even if it's not capital intensive, there has to be objectives for every proposition that you're bringing to your management. What are the objectives? What do you hope to achieve with the proposal that you're bringing forward? You want to introduce a new HR information system. What is that system going to achieve for the organization? If it's going to help your organization to, it's going to help you to be more efficient in HR function, yes, that's an objective. And different other things, if that is it. Then you also look at your current process. It has to be a part of your business case. Look at your current process. How are HR matters? So if you're using the HR information system as an instance, what is the current process of managing HR information? Okay, the current process is that we have a very big safe where we file all employee information, and whenever we need information about any staff, we have to go through the heap of files. So that is what we currently do. Now, this new process that we are proposing, that HR is proposing, is going to take away the time we use in filing, is going to take away the time we use in looking for information when we need it, because we can we can easily extract information from the system. That's your current process. Now, what are the requirements that you would need for your proposition to succeed? If you need, at this point, you can talk about your the resources that you need, resources in terms of human resources, people resources. If you need hardware, if you need any software, if you need funds, you can talk about them in the requirements that you need. Then you consider the alternatives. Of course, if you don't have, if option A doesn't work, option B can work. And if option B doesn't work, you make option C and then option D. You look at different alternatives. If we do not get the HRIS, what are the possible alternatives? In this case, a possible alternative is that we continue the way we have been operating. That's one alternative. That is the alternative to do nothing and retain status quo. Another alternative is to choose another form. Rather than getting an expensive HRIS, maybe for instance, you are proposing to get an HRIS like the Sage, the SAPs that are quite expensive and priced in dollars. You can propose that we can, as an alternative, we can have a customized HR system that is built and that is custom built for our organization, and that can be more cost effective. So that's another alternative. Now you have to compare the alternatives. Let the CEO, the management, be able to see what are the results of the different alternatives. If we go with option A, this is what we are likely to, this is the result we are likely to get. If we go with option B, this is the result we are likely to get, and like that. So same way you compare the costs, same way you compare the benefits of the different alternatives. Now, if there are any other additional considerations that, for instance, let me take recruitment as an instance here out of the system. If, for instance, you used to outsource your HR, your recruitment process to a recruitment firm, but because you are bringing in an HRIS that has an ATS, that's the applicant tracking system, because you're bringing in a system that already has that. So you may not necessarily need the recruitment firm anymore. So that is an additional consideration in this case. It's going to affect that vendor relationship. So that's something that you have to also point out. And then you should have an action plan. Have an action plan. How are you going to go about this activity? Set milestones. It's important that in planning for the execution of any proposal, any initiative that you're bringing up, there are milestones, there are things that you can celebrate as wins. You know that you're on the right track when you have achieved this, when you have achieved that. That is your action plan. So what we have looked at right now are the elements of a winning business case. These elements are important if you're proposing something to your management, so that at the end of all of this, the goal of your business case is to help your CEO, is to help the management to see the value, that what you're doing is bringing to the table. It's important that in every activity we do as HR people, we have to be able to help, we have to be able to sell the value, you're not just doing an activity for doing sake. You're doing the activity so that tie whatever activity it is you're doing to the organization's goals. That link is always very important. Make sure that link is always there. That way you have, you make your job easier. You just make your job easier because your management can see the importance of these activities you're proposing, and it just helps you and makes life easier for you. Now, I'm going to another practical example of HR value addition. I took recruitment here again, and in addressing, just for instance, when you're asked, okay, you want to recruit people, what's the importance of this recruitment you want to do, and all that. So you can demonstrate, if you're coming up with a business case, or a report, you can demonstrate how the approach that you're using has addressed skill gaps. How you are the approach you're using. So for instance, maybe you used to hire via just maybe newspaper, for instance, and then you decided to switch from newspaper recruitment to social media recruitment. So you can demonstrate how that approach that you have decided to take on has addressed skill gaps. Maybe because you are now able to, you now have access to the younger people that are more on social media. You have access to a wider pool of candidates. Those are some things you can talk about there in addressing skill gaps. You can also talk about how an added focus on values has made it more likely that the new hire will stay with business. You can talk about the establishment, how these things have impacted on your recruitment, the establishment of career paths, the creation of internal development opportunities, how these things are enabling business growth. If you are not able to tie these things to the goals, to the broad strategic goals of the organization, that is where we have problems as HR. But when you are able to help the CEO, help your management see how these activities that we do as HR, how they impact on these things, then you can sell your value. You can sell your value as HR to your management. This now is a negative value, but a poor recruitment decision or the failure to tackle a performance or attitude problem can have immediate negative impact, while a positive HR decision, for instance, a pay rise, filling a role that's been vacant for some time, you can see the impact straight away. When you have a PO, that's a previously unidentified recruitment error, you're able to see it. As soon as the person comes into the organization, you know that there is a misfit here. But when you have the right person on the role, then you can see positives in the organization. All right, so these are some steps, some things I propose that we can do to enhance your value as HR, to sell your value more as HR. First, you have to ensure that HR is well represented in your company's strategic planning process. Thankfully, we are getting to the close of the year. A lot of organizations around this time organize their strategy retreats and all. So at this time, your role as HR is not only to look for venue and to make sure there is food for people during the strategy retreats. As HR, you should be sitting on the table with them, discussing important issues in planning for the strategic planning for the organization, maybe for the next year or the next couple of years. Ensure HR is well represented. Then you also have to work on building stronger predictive capabilities on your team. If you're a one-man team, good for you. If you are a many-man team, also excellent. Make sure you develop predictive capabilities. When we talk about predictive capabilities, we'll go down to HR analytics and HR metrics. Ensure that you know the right metrics to use. Ensure that you know you're measuring what really matters. Ensure that the data that you are gathering, the information you're gathering from surveys and the likes, they can actually help to predict something that is valuable to your organization as it goes forward. You also have to step up to greater accountability by providing your business leaders with support, providing them with tools that they need to be able to bolster engagement and employees' sense of purpose and growth. You also have to leverage on smart technologies to free up your time. This will help you to be more effective. Free up your time and concentrate on the more value-added tasks that your business requires. Make use of technology. It will help you a lot. Okay, and in conclusion, when we are faced with the challenges of demonstrating the value that we add as HR professionals, we have to carefully think through the value proposition, our value proposition, and the impact of our value proposition on business performance. What you're proposing, what is the value? What you're proposing, how does it impact on the performance of the organization? You have to consider that when you're faced with that question of talking about the value you're adding to the organization. And also by developing the right measures, HR can clearly demonstrate its strategic relevance within the organization, can firmly establish your invaluable status as a strategic business partner, and substantially, you can now begin to contribute to business success. Okay. And then this is a quote by Evansina. Evansina conducted a research at Development Dimensions International, and he said that if HR wants to be seen as a strategic business partner in the C-suite, they need to go beyond just carrying out the business needs of today. They need to prove that they are basing their strategy and decisions on solid data, and they need to demonstrate, often using visualization and storytelling techniques, how those decisions are linked to better business results and financial performance. Very, very important. You cannot just be doing, daily operational running around. Your initiatives, your propositions should be backed by data. They should be backed by data, and they should demonstrate how the decisions you're making as HR impacts on the financial performance. It's all about the money. It's all about the money for the business owners. Yeah. So your decisions should be linked to better financial performance for your organization. And then there's this quote I like by Will Rogers. He says, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. So if as HR, you're just sitting down there and doing normal stuff, they'll run you over. And very soon, your role will become, it's going to go obsolete. Someone else will be able to take up your role. All right. Thank you very much for listening. And at this point, I'd like to hand over back to our host, Mr. Oluyemi Adeosun. Thank you.
Wow. That was superlative. This is one of the best sessions I've had in a long while. Thank you so much for doing so much justice, so much insight. You put a lot of things into this session. Anybody who has understanding will see that of the truth. You're a consultant. Look at what you just look around doing a business case. Very, very, very great session. Thank you so much. My knowledge
very much.
has been enriched, highly enriched. If you like to ask a question from our facilitator tonight, or if you like to make a comment or a contribution way into this conversation, we'd like to quickly take your comments or questions in the next few minutes. You can please do us the honors of raising up your virtual hand, and we'll call you to speak, grant you access in order of how we see your hands raised up. And if you like to type your questions, comments, or contributions, please, without further ado, please do so quickly so that our facilitator can take the questions, or we can also take the comments. Meanwhile, if you follow, I can see quite a number of accolades, and rightfully so, in the chat box. I can see.
Thank you so much.
Thanking you, appreciating you, using all the emoticons, emojis you can think of. You In fact, if CEOs see this kind of emojis, they will also be excited. I wish these emojis and emoticons can translate to bank alerts, you know. You will have been a
Yeah, it would
billionaire.
have been good.
It would have been good, man. Ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions or any comments or any contribution? And I'm also very happy to call it a wrap tonight, okay? So that we can rest. For me, I don't have anything to add. This was well done, articulated, great presentation, great slides, great flow of thoughts, sequential, wonderful. Any comments, any questions tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Does somebody want to do a recap? Maybe something that really jumped at you from tonight's presentation? Something, you want to share something you learned, you picked up among many? We're also glad to take that. Okay, the recording will be uploaded tonight, so you can watch it for those of us who didn't join on time. So I can see a summary here from, let me see here, some comments here from Augustine Ayana. He says, element of a winning business case. You know, I picked up that too. Okay, executive summary, problem statement, background, project objective, process, requirement, alternative, compare alternative, additional consideration, action plan. You know, Augustine, we should give you a 10/10 for your notes taking. Were you a secretary in your past life? Let me see. I think I have something from our guy at MCIPM, Oshilim. He said, as HR, okay, we should be very strategic and know the business of the business. Be versatile. Beside HR, he now is saying here that due to my strategic presence, I am part of designing my company's 5-year strategic plan. Fantastic. For instance, business development, financial analysis is part of my unique selling point. Thank you so much, MCIPM, for sharing that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jessica Jeremiah says strategy retreat. Okay, maybe that's one action point she will be following up with. Jessica also says, wow, wow, wow. When you say wow 3 times, triplets are loading for you. All right. Thank you so much, Becky. I see very insightful. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let me see. Ijoma says here, dealing with difficult bosses who had already made up their minds before calling you for a meeting is a big challenge. I understand, but again, as HR, we always emphasize, we'll come with our data. We have our data handy. Whatever you are doing, ensure you document. However you are doing it, do your analysis. Don't approach conversations with your CEO or your line manager on sentiment. Even if you started something with sentiment, gather insights and data to support your sentiment. We're not saying it's not good to help people from an emotional perspective. Think through it, get the logic to substantiate your emotional decision. So you are not going to put the emotion on the table. You put the logic on the table, show how it is in the interest of the organization, how it will positively impact on the top line or bottom line. Tochukwu, my brother here, says, traditional CEOs will only look for HR when they hit the roadblock. Yes, I understand. Let me use street language. When you are gas, they will now call HR. A lot of us can testify how suddenly HR was the darling during COVID-19. You will think all of us had COVID experience somewhere before, but it's okay, it's okay. That's when you are able to shine, when there is a big problem. Okay, Augustine again saying, understanding several roles is a good exercise as an HR who is just resuming to understand the business. Fantastic. Okay, some of these things you may not find it in the onboarding slide. Again, if you are a multi-geographic organization, you may want to take a tour of your different geographies. If you are a multi-business, you want to spend maybe 1 week in each business unit. Sometimes don't always sit at your desk behind your laptop. If you have a factory, from time to time, go to the factory, immerse yourself in what they do. You'll be able to pick insights. I think the last comment I'd like to take will be from Jessica Jeremiah, and she says, I learned so much, the purpose of the proposals and so on and so forth. She says there that I'm definitely going to re-listen to this. Absolutely. I'll encourage everyone on this call to please do likewise, and especially those who didn't start this session with us from the very beginning. On behalf of the over 60 people to 70 who joined the live session, Ifeoluwa, and the hundreds of others who are going to watch the recorded session, I'd like to thank you most sincerely for putting together this weighty information and communicating it so eloquently, so effortlessly, and so seamlessly. I'd like to thank you again for sharing with us from your wealth of knowledge and from a heart that is caring. We'd like to say that we pray that God will bless you and will have greater cause to celebrate with you. See you sometime.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mr. Olusegun.
Thank everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh yeah, you can unmute and thank our speaker.